Hey guys, Wolfie here with a special presentation for the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Global. This is the 26th of September 2020, and with this particular topic, it is one of those where it's been on my mind for at least 6 months now, and this is related to the ongoing global pandemic. So, and you guys might be noticing I'm directly at the Dissidia database website, but there is a very important reason for that. So the question that's been on my mind is that when the Lost Chapter for Beatrix shows up on Global, how will Global approach what happened on JP? And for those of you who are both Global and JP players, hybrid, if that makes any sense, you guys already know that there was a delay in content for the JP side due to the pandemic. Now, as a result of this on the JP side, Global was all business as usual, keep pumping out the content. Now, as a result of this, we've seen less of a foresight of what's to come on the Global end than in the past. But the question now remains, now that Arden's on Global, is the Global side of the game really starting to close in on JP? Or does JP have a few tricks up its sleeve that's going to cause Global to start slowing things down and keep JP ahead of Global? Now, there is some he said, she said that Global is supposed to be catching up with JP due to the intentions of the development team. Again, as he said, she said, and that's only because, is that the true intention of Global, to catch up with JP? We may never know in sense of its answer. So, for me to help get a theory going together for this, I decided to go to the Dissidia database website, as you see here, and we're going to look at the character differential between JP and Global in a sense of how many characters are in Global, how many characters are in JP. Now, again, I do have to reiterate that JP went through a bit of a delay in content to help combat certain aspects related to the ongoing global pandemic. So, and we all know that it was around the time Beatrix's Lost Chapter came onto JP. So we do know that Global doesn't have as much foresight as in the past. So we're going to jump right here into the character bit right here. So we do know that on JP at this moment in time, they have 144 units available. Now with JP as of late, they usually bring on, I want to say maybe one new character a month nowadays, as opposed to the 2 or 3 or whatever. Now we're going to go into the Global aspect for the number of characters, just to give you guys a bit of a hint of what I was thinking about. And that is, this is the number on the Global end, which is 134. Now we do know that on Monday is the next stream for the Global side. We do know at around this time by JP, there were 2 new characters coming along, that being Edward for Final Fantasy IV and Strago for Final Fantasy VI. Now with Final Fantasy IV, Pamela, believe it or not, gets his EX realization and a bit of a rework. With Strago, it is Realm. She gets her EX realization and her second rework. So we do know what's coming along with those 2 new characters, Edward and Strago. Now, Edward is sometimes known as Gilbert for Final Fantasy IV, so I'm going to call him Edward because I played Final Fantasy IV, and that's how I know him. But people do call him Gilbert, and I may interchange the name there. So, we see here that on Global, we have 134 characters. Now, with the stream coming up on Monday to preview the October calendar, that number is going to go up to 136. Now for JP, they're probably going to be bringing in 1 character through a character event. Most likely, we don't know that for sure as of yet. So the number for JP is going to be at 145. Now, knowing this will bring Global within less than 10 characters fewer than JP. And again, there is some he said, she said talk that it was intended for Global to catch up with JP. Now, due to the timing of the ongoing global pandemic, this, in my opinion, made Global look far more insensitive than JP. Now, before I go any further, you guys know my usual disclaimer. This is good. Any opinion in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. So now we're going to go back into this. So that way I don't, well, you know. So now we know that with the October calendar, it's going to depend on what JP is going to bring. Now, run via the Cydia database website, Twitter, they expressed some concerns about the lost chapters for JP. Now, with the character differential for JP and Global being fewer than 15, this could bring some concern to the Global end, meaning that Global becomes a bit more pay to play due to lack of foresight, in my personal opinion. Now, the question becomes, how will Global approach the whole aspect with Beatrix's lost chapter? Will they do the same thing with JP, delay some stuff for a while, and go back to it to honor the JP way? Or will Global continue the business as usual motto and we completely catch up with JP? Now, thinking like Global, they have a tendency to pump a lot of the content out so quick, they tend to overwhelm some players. Now, it would be, in my personal opinion, a very bad move for Global to continue the business as usual motto. Because for me, in my profile on DFFOO, I've actually had to remove varying amount of players, and there were the inactive ones, some of them being close to day one players for varying reasons. Due to the change of the player base, due to varying reasons, some of them include the bad RNG, the Android 11.0 problem, and the he said, she said involving that, alongside other factors, going the business as usual route for Global could very well hurt the player base in the end. And for Global and JP to celebrate the 8 million downloads, meaning that if it took JP this long to get those type of numbers, this could, the whole thing, the business as usual motto for Global could hurt the game overall. Because you have the lack of foresight. No foresight, how are you supposed to plan your resources? So this is something that Global really, really needs to take into serious consideration and focus on stuff like fixing the issues, being more timely with communication on said issues, etc., etc. Working on making sure the customer, the player base, they got to make sure that the player base is able to play the game and do so without much issues to the servers. And this is despite the fact that in recent months, the Mobius Final Fantasy is no longer available on either JP or Global. So, how could Global prevent an adverse change to the player base? They should probably follow the JP pattern circa Beatrix's lost chapter when that comes to Global, and delay some content, rerun some events, make sure people can get additional chances for certain players. The reason why I feel that's going to be the best route for them, their best chance to save the player base, is again, it continues to give Global the foresight and a better chance to play for certain things. Any characters that come along in the future. And without the foresight, Global cannot really plan. And if you can't plan, you're going to be spending money. And for Android users in varying parts of the United States, the bundles do include a tax. I live in an area of the United States where I get nailed with that tax. I've showed it to somebody on Twitter, so they are actually aware of what's going on. However, if they do go the business as usual route, it might not be as bad of a thing in the eyes of some. Because even without the foresight, at least Global, sees things the exact same time as JP. They don't have to worry about, okay, should I hold off for this character? Should I hold off on that? We have all the information right here. So for a conclusion here, I do feel that Global is closing in on JP because, again, we're going to showcase the differential in characters one more time. You see here JP is at 144 and the Global is at 134. So with Global getting 2 new characters in the month of October calendar, should it be 100% confirmed via Edward and Strago, with JP likely getting 1, we can see this difference shrinking further and further and further. Because I remember in the older days where the gap was 40 something characters. Now we don't have that. The character differential is less than 15 between Global and JP. And the thing is with Global, we do know that with the ongoing pandemic, Global kind of took an opportunity to play some catch up. We don't have as much foresight as in the past, and this could worry some on the Global end. However, if they do follow the JP and make sure that there is some delay in the content, this could help Global preserve the forecast, planning your resources. But it could hurt them in the end. It's a bit of a wait and see, and I do hope that Global does delay some of the content to save people time. Now with that, I'm going to get going because I do need to get to my house. So with that, I'm done. With Wolfie here signing off, I will catch you all on the flip side.